It's finally here! I got spoiled a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. I got a little spoiled, okay? But, ladies and gentlemen, folks watching us on YouTube, we are here! Live, banned and restricted announcement, November 10th, 2025. This is it. This is the time. They have the opportunity to fix everything. I believe there's a lot of cards that I think that could very easily go in standard. VV, Profs, Curiosity, Nemesis, Kaido, Omniscience. Let's see what's happening today, shall we? Let's go ahead. Standard. First thing, VV is banned. We did it! Although everybody kind of assumed that was going to happen. VV has been absolutely dominating over the past, several months at this point. It's basically ruined 2 different Spotlight series and an entire RCQ season. So, not super surprised to see that one go. Let's go ahead and see what's next. Oh! All right. It looks like they're hearing our cries. Screaming Nemesis also banned. Probably the single best card in the entire red deck, to be quite honest with you, and the source of a lot of people's frustrations. Whenever you get hit by Nemesis or like have to trade with it, then it's very frustrating because you get the emblem, and definitely makes a lot of sense. Very, very happy for that. Is there more? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if they were going to hit both VV and Profs. I'm very, very glad that they did that, though, because Profs is there's been a lot of people who were playing decks in standard that didn't have VV, but that did have Profs in a lot of the draw shell with like Fear of Missing Out, Steam Core Scholar, things like that. So very, very happy they decided to axe it all. And there you go. 3 changes for standard. Wait, Pioneer changes? Ooh. Pioneer changes? Are they deleting the format? Oh, okay. Heartfire Hero is banned. Okay, well, they didn't delete the format, but at least they're acknowledging that Pioneer still exists as a format, which is kind of help. You know, that's nice. That's very, very nice that they did that. Modern changes? No changes, obviously. I mean, during the middle of an RC season, nobody expected anything to happen in Modern. And honestly, the format's like in a pretty good spot right now, so it makes sense for them not to change anything in Modern. Legacy. Whoa. Okay, look. I don't know a lot about Legacy, but I will say that this card, Entomb, has dodged the ban list for the past 15 years of Magic, and I just kind of thought that they would never ever ban it. They've continuously banned cards around Entomb, like they banned what's the Troll of Khazad-dûm. Never thought they would ever consider banning Entomb, so yeah, Nadu just banned it every format. Vintage, assuming no changes. Pauper. Oh, okay. Look, I don't know a lot about Pauper, but I'm assuming that, they recently unbanned High Tide a couple, I think it was like either the last ban list or the ban list before that. And I think they mentioned at that time High Tide was more of a like a trial unban, and apparently it was too much. Oh. Oh, it's historic. No, that's fine. Okay, I was gonna say. Okay, I read this as historic and I thought it was timeless for a second. But yeah, Force and Negation in historic makes sense. They don't want free spells in historic. Entomb, Mystical. Yeah, these are all cards that are coming. I didn't even know Entomb was on the bonus sheet. There you go, folks. There it is in all of its lovely glory. Standard, VV, Nemesis, and Profs, Pioneer, Heartfire Hero, and some Legacy. So let's go ahead and scroll down to see exactly what sort of reasoning they gave to these standard bans. Yeah, I mean, I guess my initial reaction is I'm very happy they hit both VV and Profs. I think if they only had touched VV, Profs still probably would have been problematic in terms of like the blue-red deck still gets to be very good. But yeah, I'm a little scared that they didn't ban a card from Dimir. No Kaido, no Enduring Curiosity. A little sad they didn't hit Omniscience as well. I think Omniscience is a super frustrating card, but we'll see if they mention that in the in the announcement here. Okay, so here we go. As a reminder from when we announced we would be lightly adjusting the timing of this banning window, we plan to move towards a more frequent announcement cadence to adjust formats as necessary, and there will be more details on that to come before the end of the year. So presumably not in this announcement, right? Standard has been in poor shape for the past few months. Izzet Cauldron has cemented itself as the strongest deck in the format and has had unacceptably high win and play rates. Yeah, I mean, if you go back and look at some of the data from the Spotlight series, where basically the only playable deck was Izzet, it was it was a lot. I remember seeing a screenshot of like the win rate matrix from, I think it was either Baltimore or Liverpool, and it was not only did Izzet Cauldron have the highest overall win rate, it was positive in every single matchup. So yeah, makes sense. Dominated the tournament scene since Standard rotated with the release of EOE, placing 5 more copies into the top 8 at all 3 of the Standard Spotlight Series events. Yep. Strong fair game, efficient interaction. All right, to open up the Standard format for innovation in a wider variety of decks, it's clear we need to disrupt the VV and Cauldron combo. Opting to ban VV as it's the card that's more likely to create future balance problems if allowed to remain in the format. I'm also very happy, like, there was certainly a lot of people who thought there was a chance they would consider banning Cauldron over VV due to, like, VV was a Universes Beyond Final Fantasy card, and I'm very, very happy they decided to, you know, axe the VV instead. I think this is certainly, and we can all agree, this is the more problematic card, where even sans the combo, this card is still completely ridiculous with just a bunch of cantrips, providing a boatload of extra mana and things like that. So it does, I'm very happy they decided to axe VV instead, because this card would certainly still be problematic, even if it wasn't for Cauldron. Interaction is too much stronger than the rest of the format. We are opting to ban VV. This is the card that's more likely to create future balance problems. We said that. There are clear parallels between Profs and Up the Beanstalk. I don't know if that's necessarily a good comparison. Because Profs is a lot more about just providing a lot of damage front loaded rather than just Beanstalk being a pure card advantage engine. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good comparison. But Profs does end the game a lot faster than Up the Beanstalk. 1-card game plans that provide a lot of strength. That's fair, yeah. In addition, they are both 2-mana enchantments that draw you a card. Yeah, that is a big issue, right? Where even if you have an answer to the Profs, you still have to 2-for-1 yourself. And that is certainly the same feeling of Up the Beanstalk, where before it's like you had, you know, your Leyline Binding or your Terra Sunder, and you didn't want to kill the Beanstalk, but if you didn't kill it, then they would draw 3 or 4 extra cards, so you were priced into killing it. And every time you kill a card like this, you're always going to be down in the exchange. You know, similar to basically every single creature in the Standard format, right? Combination of qualities is a dangerous recipe for a card in the strongest deck. Yep, okay, that makes sense. And yeah, Profs certainly still would have been a problem, even if we removed the VV Cauldron aspect of it, Profs still would have been problematic, so I appreciate that as well. It broke onto the scene in a big way in the Oculus deck. Prior incarnations have been healthy additions to the metagame. Stories and Riddler. I feel pretty bad that not even a mention of Tamiyo and Legacy. We'll get there at some point. Okay, so now as far as the Nemesis ban, we are also acting against the Mono Red deck today. Mono Red has proven itself as the deck most able to hang with Cauldron, despite failing to meaningfully prove an obstacle to Izzet Cauldron's dominance. The play rate at a competitive events and its win rate in our internal data has us concerned it may prove to be the clear frontrunner in Standard in a post-Cauldron world. I mean, I really hope they like at least mention Dimir, because I don't necessarily know that people would agree with that. You know, I think a lot of people would put Dimir maybe slightly ahead of Red, but we'll see. Surely they'll at least like acknowledge Dimir in the next paragraph, right? To prevent this outcome, we are electing to ban Screaming Nemesis. Nemesis is among the strongest cards in the default mono red deck, one of the most frustrating cards to play against in the deck, which is fair, yes. I mean, look, a lot of the red gamers out there are going to be very, very sad to see Nemesis go, but like, it is certainly the most powerful card in the deck, you know? There's so many situations where it's impossible to trade for it with a lot of decks. There are some decks that just don't have a clean out to, excuse me. You can't trade in combat, you can't attack large creatures into it, you can't block it most of the time. It's just an extremely frustrating card to play against. It's like 3 mana 3/3 hexproof unblockable. It feels very similar to like a true name Nemesis for people who remember that shout out. Where like you can't kill it, you can't block it, etc., etc. So yeah, that makes sense. And I do think it is the correct ban over something like Leyline of Resonance, Sunspine Links. I heard some people suggesting Links, which is kind of absurd. Like I think the Leyline deck is frustrating, but it's a lot more glass cannon high variance kind of thing. So, you know, it's not nearly as consistent as the just more traditional mono red deck. Learnings in the future. A common element in all three of today's standard bans is an emphasis on counterplay. We want standard to be a format where decks are strategically distinct with a clear identity and the ability to do powerful things. Healthy metagame in a world where decks have clear and powerful game plans means that those strategies need to have strong counterplay available. It's almost like we've been saying for the past 6 months that the removal spells are terrible. Well, at least they're acknowledging that, you know? It's a failing of the format if there is a strong deck in the metagame that doesn't have good counter strategy available. This philosophy underpins both our choices today and our card designs in the future. Powerful decks with appropriate counterplay means we need to be careful with cards like Nemesis. The role we intended for Nemesis was to give mono-red players who wanted to play their deck in a hostile metagame a way to feel like they had room to maneuver and a fighting chance to win their fair share of matches. What? I mean, it certainly did that. I'll tell you that much. It definitely did all that. Yeah, boy, did they accomplish that. Instead, deny players who wanted to attack mono red the ability to do so. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised they didn't foresee this happening, you know? Like, this statement is very, very odd to me. Yellow Hat, thank you for the raid. It's a very odd statement to me. It succeeded at that job too well and instead denied players who wanted to attack mono red the ability to do so. Like, I'm very, very surprised they didn't like envision that happening in the first place. You know, I don't really understand that. We took a risk making a card that insulated mono red against life gain and blocking at the same time and introduced the possibility that missing on rate would lead to exactly what we have seen play on a recent standard. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's just, again, the problem of them just juicing up the threats too hard, you know, and their removal spells are just not, excuse me. Sorry about that. Not quite as good. Missing on the power level of new cards is to some extent inevitable, but there are ways we can improve our accuracy. VV is an example of a card where the ramifications of an individual power level mistake were amplified tremendously by our failure to, no, at least they admitted it, our failure to find the interaction with Cauldron. Okay. At least they admitted it, okay? We may or may not have a Felidar Guardian Saheeli type situation, but at least they're acknowledging their mistake, which I can appreciate, you know? Standard metagame has been defined by a ceiling of strong multi-card synergies rather than the power level of an individual card. Adjusting to this is a design shift that in progress, and we still have room to grow. Profs is an example of a strong engine card where the ever-increasing density of strong interactions available in the format got away from us. Yeah, so they just, like, they printed Profs, right? And initially, when they printed Profs, everything was kind of fine. There wasn't as much card draw just kind of baked into a lot of these cards. As their design philosophy gets more and more over the course of the following year or two of every single card has to replace itself because that is just how Magic cards are designed in 2025, then eventually it's going to get to a boiling over point where there's too many cards that replace themselves, and that's where Profs gets too strong, and that's exactly what happened, right? But also, hear me out, this is going to sound wild,
What if not every card had to replace themselves?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's something you can think about. It's a thought, okay? It's a thought process. Just saying. Something you could think about for design future. A format we designed and tested profs and murders where most of its powerful synergies didn't exist. Yeah, no shit. We noticed this lack of options and made Steam Core in the same set to be a great card alongside profs. That's true. Steam Core was in the same set. Felt comfortable printing it at a high individual rate. We thought the overall deck was of medium strength, but really fun. Look, I remember early profs days. I was playing, and for the people who have been here for the past couple of years, you guys remember the Demir prof streams? Those were fun, where I was playing like Ingenious Prodigy and Shieldred, Consider, what was the blue black 2/3? Evangel, that's what it was. Yeah, the Evangel. The card was awful. Shut up. Mods ban McQuinn sauce. Once we recognized that props had the capacity to be exceedingly powerful alongside creatures that draw cards and cheap spells that draw multiple cards, yada yada yada. To close out on this section on Standard, I'd like to acknowledge that this year's cadence for banned and restricted announcements has not been ideal and competitive Standard suffered for it, especially in the last 3 months. We still believe in our underlying Standard ban list update philosophy. We want these updates to be predictable, and we want the Standard format to feel stable. While our fundamental philosophy remains intact, we recognize that our execution this year caused pain, which we need to address. As mentioned at the beginning of this article, next year we will be increasing the number of banned and restricted update windows. This will allow us the flexibility to respond quickly if the metagame ends up in a severely imbalanced state again. Our bar for action in Standard remains high, but we do intend to intervene in situations like this where the format is clearly dominated by a single outlier deck, with no clear angle of attack. As stated above, the next banned and restricted announcement will be on February 9th. We'll also be discussing these changes to our banned and restricted update windows on November 11th. Essentially what that means is that they want to make it so that every single banned and restricted announcement is predetermined, but they just want to basically make more of them. So, one thing that I'm a little frustrated reading this entire announcement, I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to Control F for Curiosity. Can't find anything. I'm going to do a Control F for Kaido. I mean, they must have forgot it. Can I maybe, oh, I see Demir. Okay. Demir Reanimator. Yeah, I would have at least like some sort of mention about the Demir deck. They didn't even say anything. Really, really big miss on both no Demir, not only no Demir bans and no Omniscience ban, but also no mention of Demir or Omniscience. I'm a little upset about that. I really wish that they would at least acknowledge that those decks exist. Yeah, let's we could talk about Pioneer real quick. Pioneer is in an interesting place. Heartfire Hero banned. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't played a ton of Pioneer somewhat recently. The core problem, especially in Arena, is that too large a portion of the format consists of mono red and decks built specifically to prey on mono red, which kind of makes sense, right? Overall, our goal with this ban is to reduce the win rate of mono red, specifically by targeting the degree of pressure to have interaction on the first turn. You know what's cool about this ban, which is kind of like the exact same thing that happened in Standard, where they banned Heartfire Hero and Monstrous Rage, and then mono red was still the second best deck in the format. So, like, I think this is a good ban in the sense of you're decreasing the power level of the red deck significantly, but you're not like completely outright killing it. And I think that's a good thing. So, again, I haven't played a lot of Pioneer. I don't even know if there's anybody in the world that has played a lot of Pioneer, but for the people out there that play Pioneer, I'm sure this is good, right? No changes to Modern. It's a great time to play Modern. Yeah, well, if you're not playing, it's Titan, I guess. Most play deck Esper Gorios, put a single copy. I kind of just want them to talk about Amulet. Here we go. Modern's a format with strong hate cards that are great at targeting specific decks. In the time since, Amulet and Affinity have both shown themselves as previously known forces to reckon with, putting up respectable numbers at the RC level. Dude, I really was wishing that this whole next paragraph was just the copy pasta. It would have been so good. Amulet Titan is a deck with a storied history in the format, remaining in tier 1. Oh, wait, no, it is! Dude, I should have read the whole thing. Oh, my God. Wait, it actually was. Holy shit. Dude, that's so good. That's so based. Oh my god, Colby, thank you for the 27. Remaining in tier 1 through metagames that included several cards on the ban list today. Yeah, dude, fuck, was this Carmen? This was Carmen, right? Oh, Carmen, can I get a W Carmen in the chat? Absolutely based. Recent adaptations to the deck included infinite combo between Woodlands and Analyst that allows the deck to produce infinite Titans, bounce a bunch permanents, yada yada yada. That sort of combo isn't inherently problematic, but we are becoming increasingly aware of some tournament logistical issues that can arise when the deck is complicated as Amulet. Well, there you go. I mean, there are several cards on the ban list that are only there due to tournament logistics. Sensei's Dividing Top, KCI power level more than logistics, and Second Sunrise too. So Second Sunrise top. There's probably one or two more on there. Yorion for dexterity issues, things like that. We aren't interested in making changes to the format at this time, but we will be watching the impact that Titan has in coming months. You're on the radar. Fran, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at Dom. I'm looking at every Amulet Titan player out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got you in the crosshairs. We're not going to talk about Legacy just because I don't really know enough about Legacy, so we're just going to keep to the formats that I know more about. So again, TLDR, standard bans, good. Not talking about Dimir or Omniscience, not so good. Pioneer bans, fine. Modern, at least they're admitting that they're looking at Amulet Titan and will consider changing things in the future. That's all I got. Well, let me know if you're watching us on YouTube, your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, adios.